Look, I changed the TV for you today.
Oh, this is actually one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
Do you know what this episode is?
No. Here,
So this episode, this is actually a good episode. We watched this show, by the way. This is not like salacious, gratuitous. I actually watched the show, and there's a plot.
It's all about TNA. It is.
No,
No, it really is. It's done. See, here's the thing.
not this one. This one's got meaning.
Here's the deal.
Okay, like you're gonna
Porn is porn is porn.
Are you
Just
gonna speak
because
for
there's a
every
plot
man?
line. Yes. Just because the plot line doesn't mean
Oh,
it's
come
good.
on, but
it's like saying Playboy is not porn because they have great articles.
But
If you have great content and it's a great doc, and it is, the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders is a great.
Yes.
But there is gratuitous, lots of great. You just saw it.
I know, but this particular episode.
Yeah.
In this episode,
It's no Baywatch.
they're getting right.
God.
In this episode, they're getting their uniforms for the first. By the way, because I was so disgusted with it and the whole thing. You remember the whole was it the Raiders cheerleaders that filed the lawsuit several years back about?
And then the Bengals did it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was looking this up because I thought it was really interesting. You know, how much do professional cheerleaders get paid?
They don't get paid squat.
Well, the source that I saw,
Yeah.
there's two groups of cheerleaders. There's they call them the professional ones. One's kind of on the team, and then the sort of fill-ins, I guess, secondary. The professional ones, at least they ranked. The source I saw ranked 10 teams, and on average, I mean, it's not a lot. It was about $75,000 a year.
No.
Yeah. I'll look it up at the break. I know, because I didn't think either. Listen.
Now you can make that by
They make per game and then the entertainment.
It's like $150 a game is what the average.
No, $500. It's up. It's up.
Okay, well, $500. Okay, you're talking about 8 home games.
No, well, I'm telling you, it said 70. It was 75 down to about 60.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Unless they just the union came out and just changed it over the last year because we did a story.
I know this was within the last year.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. We'll check it. We'll check it out because I
hope they do, but
it's disgusting if they don't. I mean, it's disgusting, particularly.
Well, it's not disgusting.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Oh,
That's business. No, it's business.
That is not business.
Listen, if I could have like
that is not business.
Sure, it is. If I could have the TKR Rocker Girls,
and they would do it
and
for
I could
free.
get 50 girls to show up at my house and do it for $25 an hour, then I'm going to do it for $25 an hour. Now, if I have 2 girls show up and they're like, we're not going to do it for under 50, then I'd have to raise my prices. That's business.
No, stop. If you were a $4 billion industry, if you were a $4 billion industry, or how about a $1 billion?
Yep.
You want to take $1 billion?
Sure.
And you knew that essentially the face of your organization was only making close to nothing. Let's say between 10,000 and 70.
Yes.
You would not just purely either out of altruism, the goodness of your heart, or at the very least PR, you would not bump and have decent salaries? That's the part to me that I don't get.
Oh, I as a business owner, I'd like to pay my people what I think they deserve to get paid.
Right.
But there's a reason why Jerry Jones is worth $4 billion because he's a businessman. That's why Zeke didn't get his contract. That's why Dak didn't get his contract.
Tony, so that's why they're not paying the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders? That's
Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders
that's
are going
ridiculous.
The Dallas Cowboys are going to be around well after the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders are gone. Sure it is. But it's business.
It's terrible
business. Okay, so you got a landscaper coming over and he's working his ass off. Okay, and he's like, I'll do it for $10 an hour, but you know he's worth 30. Are you going to say, no, I want to give you 30?
Tony,
that's business.
No.
Yeah, it's business.
No,
sure
it's not. Stop it. You know that it's not from a promotional standpoint, from a PR.
I'm not saying it's what I do. I'm just saying it's business.
It's terrible business.
You have 150 women showing up for 25 positions.
Right.
They can pay them whatever they want.
Of course they could, but it is the wrong thing to do when you have.
It's business.
Stop.
It's
Anybody
business.
who runs their business like that, it says a lot about Jerry Jones.
No, and what
it says a lot about Jerry Jones.
It does.
It says they show.
And what happens in most businesses, people get pissed off and they quit.
So that doesn't
because I'm working my ass off for $8 an hour and they quit. And what happens? They start raising their salaries. They start raising their money.
They file lawsuits.
Yeah, and that's what's happening in lawsuits. The lawsuits came out because of the sexual.
And the no pay, equal pay.
Equal pay my ass. Equal pay to what?
Relevant cost of living. Just to be, come on! I can't even believe you're going here.
No, I'm not saying I would do that way.
Do you think Jerry Jones is smart for doing this?
But you know what? the NFL, and they went through this. Fine, we just won't have cheerleaders anymore. And there's some teams that don't. Fine.
But that's
you want to make $30,000 a year? We're not paying 25 people for $30,000.
That's what I'm saying.
Now, Jerry Jones is smart enough to realize how important they are to his organization, and so he does pay them.
Now he does.
And now they get residuals.
Now
if you're a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, you probably are making $75,000, but you're probably making $50,000 on the side.
Yeah, well, they talk
because you're out doing signing autographs, but you ain't making it through the program, and he's giving you the platform to create that. It's an NIL.
You know what this is? And you get pissed about this. This is the pay us to be on your stupid ass terrestrial radio network because we're giving you the platform.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah,
you're right. We think that's bullshit.
I mean, I've told everyone that's come to work for me, I want to give you what I think you're worth.
Yours is different. Listen, yours is different.
But if I was worth $1 billion, of course I'd be paying everybody.
Exactly.
I'm not saying I wouldn't. But I understand that.
How do you understand
But that's how some of the most successful business people in the world.
Well, yeah.
Ford did it. Carnegie did it. Rockefeller did it.
Right.
Every rich son of a bitch that's ever been in this country paid him until the unions came up. They fought it, and it worked out. It did. But they were paying these guys. The people were dying on their shifts, working 14 hours until the unions
get good business.
Well, sure, but no, I'm not saying that's how you. I'm not saying that's how you get good business. Now, all those people were very successful, but I'm saying that's how a lot of people do their businesses.
It's terrible.
It is.
It's horrible. It's one thing if you don't have the money. It's one thing if the company doesn't have the money.
Why do you think Amazon's starting unions?
Of course, because
Amazon's making $8 trillion a year, and their workers don't make squat.
Right,
but that's business.
But then we complain about unions.
Yeah, well,
we don't want them to unionize.
Not everyone does. Then get the hell out. I mean, I'm just saying I understand it. It's legal. It's what they do, and obviously with the lawsuits and everything else, they are going to. I hope you're right. I hope they are making $75,000.
We'll look it up in the break. I was surprised. I was very surprised.
A lot of people, a lot of women, at least according to these women, they don't care about the money.
Well,
they just want to be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader.
It's a platform.
It's a dream.
They do it for a few years, and then they move on to the next thing.
Yeah, because they get too old and they get jiggly.
No,
and they get fat and they get cellulite when they turn 30.
You know, that's Tony Curry persona. That's not. It's not you. They don't do it when they're jiggly.
No, I just told you that's not how I'd run my business, and that's not how I run my business. But I understand what they're doing. If you've got 10 guys that are willing to do the same job as 10 other guys for half the cost, who the hell are you going to hire? Thank you very much. You're going to hire the cheap guys because it's your business and you can save money in the bottom line. Even if you're a billionaire, you're going to save it.
No. You know
and then now if you're nice, you may go, you guys did an excellent job. I want to give you a little bonus.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to look at what I'm paying them. And if it's not enough for them to live, I'm going to raise my salary.
Okay.
I am. Okay. That's how I'm going to run my business.
Really? So everyone that's come over to work on your house and does your landscaping, do you know they're making enough to live?
Yeah, because I know what I'm paying them and I know their other jobs. Yes.
Really? You know your landscaper's other jobs. You know them personally. You know everything about them.
Well, this person I do.
Okay.
Actually, he probably makes as much as...
Now who's full of shit?
He must have been... No! That's just... I mean,
I'm going to go to... The next guy comes over and does my gutters. I'm going to go, hey, by the way, what do you make on the side here? Because I want to make sure that I can pay you enough that you can provide for your family. I want to provide for their family. I do, but I don't know how many other jobs they have.
But you don't... Listen, let's just say you had... And you don't have to have $1 billion. Let's scale it so it's relative. Let's say you had someone coming over to help you do your gutters, and they said, "I'll do it for $2 or $5."
Yeah.
Would you not? And they didn't look down and out, but you know, that you somehow you knew that they.
I've got an employee like that.
Okay, so do you? But do you chip them extra money that you can afford?
Absolutely.
Well, but that's my whole point.
But I understand that too.
I don't understand that.
Okay, well, that's what makes different businesses business.
Right, but that's why Jerry Jones is a piece of shit. He is.
He's one of the most successful businessmen in this country.
Okay, let's define success. Successful in what way? He's got a lot of money.
He's wealthy. He's won championships. He's achieved everything he's wanted to do as an owner of the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders. He has. What has he not achieved?
Yes, no, he's achieved it at the business level, but this sits on his plate.
Most people that would say that and I'm not saying there aren't successful people like Elon Musk who throw money around, or Jeff Bezos, or
Jeff Bezos doesn't. That's why he's got unions.
Okay, but the majority of you work for a guy like that.
Yeah, he paid fair.
Huh?
He paid fair.
Yeah, but I mean, at first he didn't.
No, because he didn't have money. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not arguing with you on
but even when he did, things get tight.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on if things get tight, if things get
You
tight,
don't. You think they're tight. You
No,
don't
I
see
knew
the
the
books.
I knew the books.
Oh,
Of course
fuck.
I
You do the
did
books.
see the
You do the
books.
books, and you know what your Latino landscaper does on the side.
Yes,
okay.
Tony, I do.
All right, man, you're full of shit. Okay.
I do. That's why I'm okay with myself, and I don't need to go to therapy like Jerry Jones does.
Oh, so you know Jerry Jones goes to therapy now too, huh?
No, I said he needs to.
Robert Kraft is one of the most successful NFL owners.
Right, and he got caught he got caught in a
damn straight. He's paying his Latino landscaper $3 an hour, but he's paying $300 for a blowjob. Robert Kraft is known as one of the most successful, but one of the shrewdest businessmen out there.
Okay,
that's why Tom Brady's no longer on his football
But
team.
listen,
And it's coming back to bite us in the ass.
Shrewd? That's shrewd? We just did a whole show yesterday. Okay, Mr. Moral. Let's do the moral. Right is right, wrong is wrong.
Get out of the political liberal. Everyone deserves to live.
Moral.
Here's the deal.
Oh my
if
God.
you pick
moral, go moral.
No, if you pick a job, an industry that is not paying you enough to survive, maybe it's something that was in your lineage or something you've done your entire life, you're really good at it.
Yes.
And you're not making enough money.
Yes.
But there are other jobs out there that would pay you more to provide for your family, and you're stuck and you're like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do it, then that's on you.
I totally agree.
And if for whatever reason there's a multifaceted situation where there's so many different people doing the same job you're doing, and I use landscaping services only because you get a lot of landscaping. Dude, there's so many landscaping services right now. There were 6 different ones on my street yesterday, and I people that do landscaping services, I don't get it. I take joy in getting out and doing things myself. I like to do my own yard. I know I'm on the outside looking in, and if I had the money to have landscaping, I'd probably pay them to do it.
Yes, sir, you would.
But when you're in an industry like that, and there's a lot of different people doing it, you have to undercut everyone in order to get the business, and then you raise your prices.
So go morals.
And so.
Go morals.
Yeah, well,
Just go morals.
I told you what I do, Josh,
So
but I understand that. It's a business.
Okay, so again, let's
it's
go.
business.
Let's go morals. Do you think what he's doing is morally correct? Forget all the business and the shrewd and the legal, because I agree with you. I'm not saying any of it's illegal. I'm not saying any of it is. I would say it's not good business, but I wouldn't say that.
If you are having a cheerleader camp, and you put it in writing, you're going to make $10,000 a year if you end up getting this position, and you have 150 girls show up. Or I say you're going to make $50,000 a year, and you have 150 girls show up. Your average businessman will go, let's go with the 10, because I'm a business here, and that's what I'm running here. And while it's important, they're not taking the snaps on the football field. They're certainly a big part of this. Now, I'm not saying I would do that. I'm just saying that's what
moral?
Business people. It's business.
It's more.
You're not making them. They're not making them show up and do all these camps.
Is it the right thing to do? Because again,
I don't see anything immoral about it.
But
you're not making them take the position. It's not slave labor.
But you're comparing. You're making it as if it is affecting the bottom line at a $2 billion industry. When here would be my question. If we're going to go here, what kind of return on investment do they bring in? Well, forget the investment. What kind of revenue do they bring in?
I have no idea.
I mean, on T-shirts,
they're obviously making money on the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. Jerry Jones makes money on this because he's got a television show. Right. He's got everything.
Which is fine.
I hope you're right. They're making money. I hope they're making $75,000 because they're worth it. There's no doubt. But what I'm saying is a businessman that looks at this, ask anyone watching right now, and I speak for every guy, you can have these guys for $10,000 a year or these guys for $75,000 a year, and they're the same. You're taking the $10,000 because it's a smart business decision.
Why?
I'm not making you do the job.
Right.
If you want to work cheap for me, then work cheap for me. I'm certainly going to try to take care of you, and I'm going to go, hey, listen, I think
bonuses. Should you not get bonuses?
Again, I'm not speaking for me.
Well,
I'm just saying that
you speak for every businessman. You're a businessman.
Because a lot of businessmen do that.
But you just said you speak for every businessman. But
you get 2 guys that walk in a room, and you're offering $15 an hour, and some guy says, "Well, I'll do it for $7.50."
Same thing.
Sure, it is.
It's not.
It's business.
Bring it down. No, stop. Bring it down to a nickel and a quarter. Make it scaled. Make it scaled.
It has to be something where people will actually do it. What I'm saying is, when I was cutting grass when I was 10 years old, I went down the street and I was making $2 an hour to cut grass, and I was cutting grass 8 or 9 hours a day. Okay, and I worked my ass off. So much so that my dad called the owner of this house where I was cutting grass, said, my son works really hard for you. And he was doing parties. All they had was a push mower, all these things. And he's like, you you should be shipping my son at
he's
least
like the
$3,
union.
at least $3. He was, and he made the call. I didn't know, and he's like, you should be giving him at least $2.50 or $2.75 an hour. Okay, this is 1980.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know he did it. Well, another kid came in, so I'll do it for $1.50.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, and the guy was wealthy, he was rich. He's like, okay, well, I'll do it for $1.50 because I'm getting the same job. Appreciate you, thank you, and I lost my job. That's business. I'm not saying it's fair. It sucks because I worked my ass off. The other kid ended up falling apart, and
there you go.
then they called me back, and then I got my $3 an hour.
I'm just
saying,
it's so easy to just say it's business. It's so easy to just say it's
no,
business.
to the letter of the law, that's what business is.
I didn't ask you about that. There's a difference between yes to the letter of law. It's not illegal. It is a competitive thing.
Sure.
But again, we're not talking about if they were negotiating for $500,000 a year each. I'm just using an example, right? Now you start getting into it's not a tiny line item, right? I mean, if you talk about the total budget of the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders cost as a cost center relative to the Dallas Cowboys operations, it doesn't even reach the radar screen.
On average, the Dallas Cowboys pay their cheerleaders about $15 to $20 per hour or $500 per match. If calculated by 1 year, the number they receive is about $75,000 per year. In addition, beautiful cheerleaders can earn more money through advertisements or attending events.
Okay. But that's new, isn't it? That's relatively new.
That is
relatively new.
Do all NFL teams have cheerleaders? No, it depends on each year.
$75,000. Listen, they're young. $75,000. If that's an entry job, well, not entry. Most of them have college degrees. They're somewhere between 18 and 25.
Yep.
I think that's fine. But that hasn't always been that way.
No.
That's all. I'm just
no, and like business, they stood up and said, "We're tired of this crap.
Right.
We don't want to do this anymore." And it changed. And the business people end up paying them, and they're worth it. They're worth it. I mean, absolutely.
Okay.
When I have the Tony Kurre Radio Network cheerleaders,
no, the TKR cheerleaders.
Well, you know what? We did a couple concerts when we were doing concerts a couple years ago, and I had bumper stickers, and I called some old friends of mine that worked at Hooters because I wanted them to be attractive, and Cordette, who worked for the Buffalo Bills, and said, "Listen, and again, I'm in a situation where I'm not a billionaire, but I was like, if I sent you out for 2 hours, what would it cost me?" And they wanted like $100 an hour, and I said, "I'll give you 50. That's all I can do. I give $50 for 2 hours. All I get to do is walk around, get people to download apps, and of course they're happy to do it."
This is what you can afford.
Yeah,
that's what you can afford. That's all I'm saying.
But I'm also not down in massage parlors down in Florida getting BJ's either.
But he's a great guy.
Hey, I just sent out a picture, by the way. Ed and Fred reached out to me last night, our master guitar strappers. Did you see the tweet?
No, I did not.
Oh, it's great. You should pull it up. Tony Kurre Radio. Ron Wood using his brand new Ed and Fred strap. It says twins on it with Ed and Fred on the bottom with the tongues. It's killer. It's beautiful. It's a great picture. Check it out. Tony Kurre Radio.
It's so interesting that that's all that they do.
Oh, and they kill it.
No, I know. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, that is dialing into your craft.
No, and it's so specific, and it's super cool. And, of course, they're back on the road. The Rolling Stones are, and he was backstage last night, and he was showing off his strap, and he took a picture, and I posted it on Tony Kurre Radio. So check it out on the KCast Radio.
We need to get them back on the show. I have a lot of
Man, I mean, you want to talk about two guys who finish each other's sentences. They're fantastic. It's great. I'd love to do a show with them. I don't think I'd even have to co-host. I think I'd just turn the microphone on and just let them start talking. They're great. They're great dudes. So check that out.
She's about to get cut, by the way.
No, I find out that on the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders, if you make it to this room, you're making it through.
No. You don't know. Because if you make it to this room,
do you know for sure that she get cut?
I think she gets cut on this.
I see.
Because they bring you in, so they all do your thing, and they go. Everybody gets to go home. I'm going to need to see you and you.
Yeah.
And then they're bringing them in. Say, I watch the show. I watch all the shows.
Yeah. Well, I do too. I was down here this afternoon. She does not get cut.
Well, she doesn't get
No, because for the most part, if they're going to give you camera time, you're making the cut.
Well,
very
or
rarely
you're going to get cut, and with you have a dramatic response.
True.
No, look. Oh no, they told her she needs to work on her.
She's in.
Okay, she's in. Oh. Oh, thank God.
Today is National Blasphemy Day.
Speaking of.
And this has been around for 12 years. It is a day where we should be able to celebrate our right of free speech and say whatever we want, even when it comes to religious things. So
I didn't know that. Oh, it's National Support Blasphemy.
It is, but they call it National Blasphemy Day.
Okay.
Today is International Podcast Day. I posted our podcast from yesterday up on our social media this morning, so you can check that out. So it was funny because I tweeted out last night. Full throttle, blow your pants off show, AC/DC's Live Wire Wednesday. Yeah. And the fact that I put pants in there, I must have pulled up some type of algorithm. So I started getting all these tweets from people that had pants in their Twitter account names. And so some guy,
like selling
I'm gonna give him props. No, I'm gonna give this guy some props because he followed me last night. Pants is bad is his Twitter account.
Okay.
And so I was like, and he retweeted a full hour of hard drive and blow your pants off rock. And so I went to his site. He's got 958 followers. We're an undeveloped podcast without podcasts celebrating apathy for a few years now. And so I went and listened to his podcast.
What is it? What?
I listened to it, and I listened to the whole flipping show. I don't even remember what the name of the thing is.
Is it about pants?
No, it's just I don't even know where he got pantsisbad.com is his site.
Okay.
And it's just on, and it sounds like he's just hungover as hell. It's a younger kid, and it sounds like it's kind of produced. He opens it up with the Tears for Fears, Everybody Rules the World thing, so it's somewhat produced.
Okay.
And he's just on there dropping the C word, the F bomb. He's like, I'm tired. I don't want to be here. But my friends are like, you got to do the podcast today. It's episode 196. I can't believe I've done 196. I listened to it for about 15 minutes. It was actually pretty funny. I don't know if I listened to it again, but absolutely no content.
Yeah,
for like 30 minutes, the guy's just rambling on. And he looks down at his shoes and talks about his shoestring. I mean, you could tell the guy just turned the microphone on and started talking. Maybe that's what we should be doing, which is
what do you think we're doing?
Which is what we do anyway.
This is exactly
I
what
come with content.
What?
I have some content.
No, you come in with content, but
today is also International Translation Day. I know you love translators, particularly when it's deaf translation. You always send me videos of people doing. When people are doing
dramatic translation.
Oh, yeah. It's almost impossible not to do dramatic translation.
Well, because it's like speaking.
For the hearing impaired.
No, but think about it. It'd be like speaking monotone.
I know they're like.
Well, yeah, because.
It's great.
Yeah.
Today is National Love People Day. Now, before you go off and go, oh, brother, this is another one. It's been around for 30 years. It's set up every year from September 25th to September 30th. It is do nice deeds for humankind for the next 5 days. Today's the last day for that. And it's got like 1 million followers.
Okay, quick timeout. Yeah. By the way, you've changed. So the left, we have got Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. We used to have murder on the right. Now you have a cooking show and they're showing.
Well, when I changed this, and here's the fun thing is because my remote is so strong that when I change this channel, it changes this one.
You got me meat
and
over here.
It's a potpourri. It's like a Russian roulette. So I hit it and then I look over to see what it's landed on. I have no that
you
is
got me meat and kiwi juice.
That is the spin the wheel. Yeah, that is the spin the wheel TV. Whatever it lands on it. But I did want to find the Dallas Cowboys.
Actually, I think it's an infomercial. Go ahead.
And also today is National Recovery Day to demonstrate and to celebrate the long road of sobriety, and we'd like to celebrate. That's funny because a lot of people in my industry are now sober.
Yeah.
Pat Queen, who used to do middays for us when I did Classic Rock, just celebrated her 7th year of sobriety yesterday. Great. She tweeted something out. I think that's great.
I know your feelings on that.
Yeah, I just think when you put yourself out, and I hope she's been sober for 7 years, it's great. I've seen relapses after 20, but. And that's wonderful. And if you're using that platform to celebrate that so other people can see that you could be successful doing it, I think that's wonderful.
So I think that's,
show me, let me beat my challenges so I can show other people your grace and your love. And I get that.
Do you think people also do it, though, I've thought about this because you've talked about this. So you go out and you put out your sobriety.
Well, Chrissy Teigen's just came out and she's been sober for 70 days. Okay? And so every 10 days she's posting something. Today's 80. Today, and I'm going, okay, that's great. You're really, really young in your recovery mode, and that's super, and I'm happy for you. And if you're doing that to show other people, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too. That's great.
Yeah. But you don't think it's for.
But relapse is part of recovery.
So do you think it's part of also accountability?
And so when you relapse, You better pull an Ariana Grande and say, listen, I fell off.
Yeah.
And this is real, and I'm screwed up, and now I'm back on again.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a celebrity, I think that is the reason. But I wonder if people also do it for accountability, or do you think they're just doing it to celebrate it? You know what I mean? Like you put it out there.
I understand. I know exactly what you're talking about, but that doesn't work.
Yeah, well, I don't think it works either. I don't think it works, but I wonder if that's part of it. If I'm going to put I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to let people know, and by the way, actually it doesn't work now that I think about it. It works for exercise.
If getting on Twitter or Instagram every year, every 10 days, every what do you want to mark your anniversary, and knowing that if you miss one, people are going to call you out, if that's the thing that's keeping you sober, you are destined to lose.
Because you're hanging on. Yeah. You're just hanging on by a thread.
You're looking for a reason to stay sober, and the reason you're staying sober is so you don't die. By the way, there was a great... this is what happens when we have no content. Okay. There was a great story last night on NBC Nightly News about a brand new surgery for addicts that keeps you. And it was amazing. And this
is a brain surgery.
Yeah,
yeah. Because they have sort of they've located the
pleasure center.
What?
The pleasure center, the dopamine, the whole. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It's a little scary just to think about because what does it do? It's a very interesting thing because I've worked with a number of business folks who are in recovery, and you talk about the rush or the dopamine rush that they get from drugs, and one of the things they struggle with. Here's what they struggle with: I don't get that anymore. So, but can I handle a dopamine rush from something else? Mm-hmm. Right. And it's an interesting walk because they throw themselves into something that they love or that they get pleasure from or whatever. But I've talked to a number of guys and gals. It scares them a little bit because I'm getting that same feeling and I'm concerned that feeling is going to then bring me back over. But
it's different. It's not. Because there's different types of feelings that show that type of pleasure zone.
Right.
And it's not a drug craving pleasure zone. Yep. It's the natural one.
Right.
And that's and evidently it works. And again, we were talking to people a month later. How do you feel?
Right.
It's like when people experiment with mushrooms. I know they're doing
microdosing. Yes.
Yeah. And it's like you want to believe it's going to happen. But if I said if you're diabetic, and I could give you brain surgery to fix it, would you do it? Yeah. Well, sure you would. It's the same thing. It's a disease, and people don't want to realize that. They think it's a pure will thing. In a lot of cases, these people just can't. They've gone to numerous IOPs.
Absolutely.
They've done, and for whatever reason,
it's not wired that way.
Their brain's just not wired that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So happy Recovery Day to everyone who's celebrating that, and it's a wonderful thing. Also, Johnny Mathis turns 86 today.
Wow, he's not dead.
He's not.
He's going to die soon.
I hope not, because Christmas time's coming up, and he sings some of my favorite Christmas tunes. And also Barry Williams, you know who he is?
Barry Williams from the Brady Bunch?
Yes. What do you think he is?
Oh, jeez. Hang on a second. Because he's got to be 50. He's got to be like 64.
He's 67 years old. We were just talking about him the other day.
I think I saw Peter doing a commercial for reverse mortgages.
I think I did too.
Was that Peter? I know Tom Selleck.
Peter, yeah.
Tom Selleck does it, but Tom Selleck can do it.
Tom Selleck's so good.
God,
he has got to be one of the most believable guys. When he says, "If I'm telling you this, it's true. We're not trying to take your home from you."
Is he doing any vaccination?
He looks damn good, man.
You know that he's got to be. First of all, he's got the head of hair. That's fine. He has got to be, what's it called? Grecian formula? He's got to be doing his mustache. He's got to have some gray hair, right? He's like 76 years old, isn't he?
I'm pulling it up. Tom Selleck. He does. He looks fantastic. I mean, if I was gay, I would be going that. He was born January 29th, so he's 76 years old.
Yeah, so I said 76.
He's 76 thinking years old. He could do another episode of Friends if he wanted to. He looks fantastic. He's a big guy, too. He's one of those guys that get fat and he still look good.
Yeah, well, he doesn't get fat, though, either. He's just big. He's about 6'4". I told you, my family knows him.
Yeah.
He's about 6'4". He's like your height, but he's like broader.
Magnum PI was the shit,
oh, yeah.
Man. It was fantastic. That was a great show. Everyone wanted a Lamborghini. Everybody wanted to be.
Well, a Knight Rider was sort of a cheaper version of it.
Of what?
Magnum PI.
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
Well, I feel like it had a semi-cool factor.
I mean, the car was the
Yeah.
the premise of that. The Lamborghini was a supplement in,
Yeah, right.
in the show because Thomas Magnum was the. Now, if we're going to go back to that, I'd say James Rockford was the crap.
Yeah.
The Rockford Files, though, that was
the Rock.
that was
That was
pretty good.
badass though. That was just
Or Mannix.
yeah.
Or
That's just
we're dating ourselves people Mannix. What the hell's Mannix?
no, that's badass though. That's
Yeah.
badass. Neither Knight Rider nor Magnum PI was badass. Magnum PI wasn't badass.
Yeah.
It was just super
Better
cool.
theme song, Rockford Files, or because you're going to say Magnum PI. Were you a Rockford Files guy?
I was
the
too
Rockford
young. I
Files,
was
the-
young.
The Rockford Files
My-
single, I think, actually charted higher
Really?
than the Magnum PI.
My dad used to watch it.
I used to love that show.
That and Gunsmoke.
Yeah.
And
Between-
we just go and Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom and Hee Haw.
Between Mannix, Barney Miller, and Murder, She Wrote, that was all we saw on our TV.
Murder, She Wrote.
God, my mom
That's
used to.
later though.
My mom.
You
used
gotta
to
go
love
earlier,
some
dude.
Angela Lansbury.
You gotta
It was
go-
on. It was on the outside, or the Odd Couple. My dad loved the
Yeah.
Odd Couple,
You got to go
and All in
Gunsmoke.
the Family. Maud.
Maud.
Oh.
Okay. We just had our old man moment. All right.
We
come on.
went and watch Good Times. I love Good Times.
Yep, Good Times.
I don't think it was because it was a black show. It just never made
was
it in
funny.
our family. But J.J. Walker is also doing some of those.
Is he dead?
No, he's doing he's doing those insurance commercials.
I've seen him.
The one that Joe Namath doing. He's
Yeah.
like, and it's dynamite. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's terrible.
And Joe Namath doesn't look good on it either.
Yeah. All right, so I love me some TikTok. Sarah Daniels, who's 32, has been playing Tinkerbell at Disneyland for about 6 years.
Oh, good.
She had something interesting she wanted to share with her fans about what men do to her when she's in character at Disney World. We'll talk about that after you talk about one of our great sponsors here on the Tony Kurre Radio Network, where we pay very, very well here. And when I'm rich, I had a meeting yesterday with a guy. I'm not going to mention his name because he's working for somebody else right now, but
Yeah,
I'm gonna scoop him because I love the dude. He's great.
Yep.
And I said, listen, here's what I'm going to give you. Here's what I can do for you. And I'm not one of those guys, well, the more you sell, the more you can make. Because a lot of times if I'm selling you a hot steaming turd on the side of the road, yeah, I'll give you 75% of everything you sell on a turd. Well, but I have something here that is very, very sellable.
Yeah, not a turd.
You can make some serious jack here. And man, his eyes just like, he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, and I'll pay you bonuses. I said, I want you to make $100,000 a year.
Look at you.
I want you. I
Look
want
at you.
I want everybody here to
Of
make a ton of
course.
money. I do, including myself.
Yes.
After I pay all my bills and feed my kids, then I'll dole out the rest.
I think
That's what I'll do.
that's what Bezos does.
Yeah. Right now we're
Feed
eating
his
ramen noodles.
kids, pays his alimony. Hang on.
Yeah,
Goes
I got that too. I got
goes
that
into
too.
space. Did you do you account for going into space? You got to go to space and thank all of us for helping you go to space. And once you do that, you're fine.
Let me ask you something.
Okay.
Because we differ on this. And moralistically,
I know where your
how I
heart is.
feel like. You know how I feel about this.
Yes.
There are some people that work for somebody that has done incredibly well for themselves. And because they're rich and they're making a ton of money and they're going on, we used to have it in radio. We used to always talk about, radio people were making no money, yet
Yeah.
the GM was going to
Right.
Hawaii.
Right.
And I'm going,
Yep.
you're going to the beach again? And there's some resentment
Oh,
there.
absolutely.
Because you just told me, now again, he's not doing it with his money. He's doing it with Cumulus's money. He's doing
Right.
it with the radio station's money, right?
Right.
But evidently he's making quite a bit.
Yeah.
At least I think. This is where you really get in a lot of trouble. This is like driving by the guy who's got a new RV and a boat in his driveway, and you're thinking, damn, I got the same job he does. How the hell is he doing it? Well, you don't know his
team up.
situation.
Yeah,
You
this
don't know if he's up
ad.
to his ass in debt.
Yeah.
You don't have any idea. I told my kids, I said, I can have an RV and a boat out here this afternoon, and every one of my neighbors would think I'm rich, but I'm not. I'm broke because I've got all this debt that I've got, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean anything. But there are a lot of people, and particularly now in this society, because people are stupid and faulting and cheating on PPPs and everything else. And every single day I see a story about some wealthy guy who's taken his $3 million. It was basically for his employees, and he went and bought a Lamborghini and he quit.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that see a boss or an owner of a business doing really well for themselves, posting pictures, all this thing, and they're not making money that they think they deserve.
And they work for this person. Is that what
They
you're
work
saying?
for this person.
Okay.
And they get pissed off. They're like, well, if he's making a ton of money, he should be sharing that some of that with me.
Yeah, no, not necessarily.
No, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. First of all, no one's making you do this job.
Yeah.
I don't know what your job performance is. Maybe you're making about what you should.
There you go. So,
I would like to think in a perfect world, if I'm making $500,000 a year, I could pay 3 people, $100,000, and we're all happy. But it's just not. That's not business.
But I do think, and you can use this, and you can scale this up. Big businesses do this. End of year bonuses, profit sharing, right? So the big businesses can do that. They can basically say the same model. Look, if we do well, you're going to do well. Now, does that mean if I'm the CEO and you are, I don't know, you're a manager that you should make as much as me? No, absolutely not, because I am the CEO. You could go be a CEO. So I think that's good. I will also say this, because I've seen this in some of the companies that I work with. I see people and they're in larger companies. They're working their way up. Okay, and they've done well, and they get promoted, and they've done well, and they get promoted, and they're making more money. But they're not happy because they're not doing what they want to do. They keep getting promoted into these bigger positions, and they don't like those positions, but they're torn because it does pay more.
Yeah.
And so they get, and I know, look, man, if you don't make any money, then you need to scramble, make it. But you can get to this point where you're like, I make enough to live fine, but everybody's telling me, come on, you're on the fast track, and I'm absolutely miserable. I will also tell you this, unlike companies, when I was at UAB, because it's a state-funded organization, there was a book in the library. Now, again, I was back in there, and this is when there was the library, and I couldn't find. There was a book, and you heard it was like folklore. Somebody told you after you'd been as an assistant professor, they're like, there's a book in the library, and you can find out what everybody makes. And I'm like, no way, come on. Yeah. And so I went over to the library. I'm like, do you have the book? And she, she's at the library. She's like, the book. I said, that salary book. She's like, oh yeah, you go, and it's printed. Yep. What everyone makes. And instantly I found out, and same thing. I'm like, assistant professor, this school. I make this. There's my name. Yep. I'm like, wait, this dude's assistant professor. He making almost twice. First thing I went back to my boss and I said, hey, look, I just went over and saw the book. He's, oh, you saw the book. Saw the book. I said, why are they making more? He said, because they're in that school and they got more money. It's a better company. I'm like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, it does. You know what I did?
What's that?
Switched to a different.
And you have a right to do that. Yeah. You have a right to do that.
But they don't like that in an academic institution.
I used to get it all the time. I always took care of, if you want to talk about morals, I used to take out my production crew and my techs every single year for holidays. I'd take them out to lunch. The reason I did that was, as a radio personality, I would make $100 an hour doing remotes. This is 1982, 83,
That's really
84.
good money.
I mean, and it's never changed. It's always been 100. So every time, and I'm giving you a little piece of information. Every time I was out at Jitterbugs, every time I was out at Senior Frogs, every time I was out at Sammy's, every time I was doing a remote, I was making $100 an hour, and usually was paid cash under the table. And then it started going to the radio station, and I didn't like it going through the radio station because that was considered part of your salary, and so you went from like $30,000 to $60,000 because you could make $20,000 or $30,000 more a year. And I would feel that resentment from the guy who had to come up, and his job was to set my stuff up.
Yeah.
My job was to show up, shake hands, drink free beer, and get paid my $200 and split. That was my job. You have your job. Is it fair? Probably not. You're sweating your ass off in 95-degree weather. You're setting up 2 speakers. You got to drive the van. You have to put the tent up. And all I do is show up 3 minutes before I'm supposed to be there. I'm doing a quick show. I'm shaking hands. I'm meeting pretty ladies, and I'm on my way. And I knew there was some. And the salespeople felt the same way because they're making 13% off this $1,000 buy.
Right,
and I'm making $200 just to show up for 2 hours one time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen.
Yeah.
Then become a radio disc jockey.
That's exactly.
Now, karma's a bitch because now we ain't doing no remotes anymore. They don't exist anymore. No one's making $200 an hour.
See,
I did that for Bud Light game nights. I did that for everything. I wish I had $5 for every remote I did. But that was my job. And I'm like, don't get angry. And so what I would do is I would always buy dinner for my salesperson, or I would put the tech on my tab. They come up, "Hey, can I get a drink?" You don't have to ask. Just tell them go to the front because I'd get a free bar
and
tab.
yeah.
And I'd take them out because I knew without them, I could not do my job. Now, that's how I got my start in radio. I worked for a guy named Jim Scott, who was the biggest blowhole, and I think he's still doing radio in Cincinnati, Ohio. He was a great liner jock.
Okay.
And actually, I think he may be dead. Anyway, people loved him on the radio, but in person, he was a real asshole. And so I got paid to go out and go to Kroger's and stuff like that. And we used to have to set up these phone lines. I'd have to do these phone lines in order to get the feed.
You did your dirty work.
Yeah, and I got paid $50 a pop. And at the time, $50 a pop, 3 or 4 days a week while I was in college, that was great.
Yeah.
I was making $150 under the table, and it was fantastic. I was and I didn't care what Jim. I knew Jim was making $100,000 a year, but I didn't have a resentment towards him because I hadn't gotten there yet.
There you go.
And so, I would go to anybody that is working a job and there's resentment there because maybe you have someone that is getting paid a lot more than you are that you work with because you're in a different position. Then go do what they're doing, or try to do what they're doing.
And I think
try to make it better for yourself.
This is where it gets to be the issue. We won't go deep in this, but where it gets to be the issue, this is the whole equal pay for equal work, right? This is the.
That ain't real life. It's not.
No, but stop! It is. This is the problem.
Well, I'm telling you, it's not real life because it's happening. That's not real life
No,
right now. Whether it's right or wrong, it's not real life. It's not. It doesn't work that way.
So we just let it go. No,
you work for it. You try to do the best. You try the best you can.
This is where discrimination comes in. This is where hiring practices come in. Because listen. If you're doing a different job, or even if it's just a different job, let's say it's not the same. Let's say you're at the same rank.
Well, we're seeing what the minimum wage deal did.
But I'm not.
we have to provide enough money. If you're making minimum wage, you should be able to provide for your family. I agree with that.
You should be able to live. Yeah,
you should be able to live.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Well, we got there, and guess what? There's so many damn jobs right now available that no one wants to work.
Well, that's just our
because they're like, $15 an hour. Hell, I can't even live off that. Well, why?
Yeah, you can.
Are you still living off the subsidies and the money that the government sent you?
No. All I was saying is, and because this happens a lot, this is diversity issues, hiring practices, and it becomes. We've talked about this on the show. This is an interesting thing. You have two people who are somewhat equivalent for the job, but it's up to your discretion to pick one over the other. There's not a strong distinction. And what the research shows is that white males tend to get picked for the jobs, even when there isn't a strong justification for one versus the other. Yeah. And now what's starting to happen, which I think is good. I mean, look, this is like the leveling of the playing field. If you're going to pick this person, tell us why you picked them. What's the criteria? That's all. That's all.
Agreed.
I've seen some sneaky around the... I've seen some... Yeah, there's some... Well, they're a better communicator.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I have... Yes.